They say men will never understand women, but what if I told you it's not impossible? In fact, modern science, psychology, and a little empathy can bring us closer than ever to understanding what women really want. Welcome to HeartDecoded, where we peel back the layers of human behavior, love, and attraction. And today we're going deep into the female mind. If you're curious about what truly drives women's desires, not just the cliches or stereotypes, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit subscribe because this might just change the way you look at relationships forever. Let's start with something fundamental. Human connection is not random. We are shaped by millions of years of evolution, cultural shifts, and personal experiences. Women, just like men, are not a monolith. They are individuals with unique personalities, desires, and needs. But there are patterns. Patterns we can trace through biology, psychology, and history. When it comes to attraction and relationships, science shows that women's wants are not just about looks or money, despite what many dating apps and pop culture might suggest. Underneath the surface, what women are drawn to is often linked to deep evolutionary instincts. These instincts evolved to ensure survival, protection, and the best possible future for their offspring. That doesn't mean women are consciously thinking, "This man will give me healthy children." It's far more subtle. Their brains, just like men's, are influenced by unconscious cues. For example, research from evolutionary psychologist David Buss reveals that across cultures, women tend to value traits like reliability, ambition, kindness, and the ability to protect and provide. But before you think that means just financial stability, it's more about a sense of security. Security can come from emotional stability, strong social connections, resourcefulness, and yes, sometimes financial stability. It's not about the size of the bank account. It's about the consistency of the man holding it. But here's the twist. In modern society, women's desires have evolved alongside their independence. In many parts of the world, women are no longer as dependent on men for financial survival. This shift means emotional intelligence, mutual respect, shared values, and genuine connection have taken center stage. A man who can truly listen, communicate, and respect boundaries often ranks higher than one who only offers status or wealth. Yet biology still whispers in the background. One famous study from the University of California showed that women's preferences can subtly shift depending on their hormonal cycle. During peak fertility, they may find themselves more drawn to signs of genetic fitness, physical symmetry, confidence, and assertiveness. Outside of that window, nurturing qualities and stability tend to dominate. This doesn't mean women are controlled by hormones. It simply means our biology plays a quiet background role in shaping attraction. Now, let's talk about the one thing most women consistently desire, but is often misunderstood: emotional safety. Emotional safety is the ability to be one's authentic self without fear of judgment, mockery, or betrayal. Women often test for this, consciously or unconsciously, early in a connection. If you mock her vulnerabilities, dismiss her feelings, or show that you can't handle emotional conversations, she's already withdrawing. But if you provide a space where she feels seen, heard, and valued, her attraction will deepen in ways that go far beyond physical chemistry. Confidence is another piece of the puzzle. But here's the thing. Women can tell the difference between confidence and arrogance almost instantly. True confidence is grounded, calm, and doesn't need to be constantly proven. It's in the way you hold yourself, the way you speak with respect, and the way you handle challenges without falling apart. Arrogance, on the other hand, is fragile. It seeks validation constantly and often masks insecurity. Women are wired to spot that difference because arrogance signals unpredictability, and unpredictability in a partner is a threat to emotional safety. One of the most fascinating areas of research in female psychology comes from attachment theory. Women with a secure attachment style tend to look for partners who are equally secure, people who can offer love without fear, independence without distance, and closeness without control. But women with anxious or avoidant styles often find themselves in more turbulent dynamics, sometimes drawn to partners who trigger their attachment patterns. This is why understanding yourself and your partner's attachment style is one of the most powerful tools in building a lasting relationship.
There's also a deep need for alignment in values. This doesn't mean you have to agree on every detail of life, but core values, things like honesty, family outlook, lifestyle choices, and moral boundaries play a huge role in long-term attraction. Studies show that when couples share core values, they experience less conflict and more satisfaction over time. And here's something you might not expect. A sense of humor is consistently ranked high in what women want. But it's not just being funny. It's the type of humor. Women often appreciate wit, playfulness, and the ability to laugh at life's challenges, not crude, mean-spirited jokes that put others down. Humor is a signal of intelligence, emotional resilience, and a lightness that makes life together more enjoyable. The final point for this first part might surprise you. Unpredictability, in small doses, can actually enhance attraction. This doesn't mean being unreliable. It means keeping a sense of novelty and excitement alive. Surprising her with thoughtful gestures, introducing her to new experiences, or occasionally breaking the routine in fun ways can keep the connection vibrant. The human brain craves novelty, and relationships are no exception. In the next part, we'll go deeper into the modern dating landscape, how social media, changing gender roles, and the paradox of choice are reshaping what women really want, and why many women today are both more selective and more open than ever before. We'll also uncover the silent deal breakers, things you might be doing without realizing that instantly lower attraction.
The modern dating world is unlike anything in human history. For most of human existence, relationships formed within small communities. Choices were limited, introductions came from family or mutual acquaintances, and the idea of swiping to find love would have sounded like science fiction. But now, a woman can meet someone across the planet without leaving her couch. The internet, dating apps, and social media have completely reshaped how attraction and connection work. While it seems like more choice would make finding the right person easier, psychologists call this the paradox of choice. When faced with too many options, people often become more selective, sometimes to the point of never settling on anyone. Women today are navigating a dating pool where every interaction is both an opportunity and a comparison. With one swipe, she can see hundreds of men, each presenting their best curated photos and most charming bios. This abundance makes women more aware of what's possible, but it also makes them cautious. Because here's the truth. In an environment of endless options, what stands out isn't just good looks or impressive resumes, it's authenticity. A man who comes across as genuine, consistent, and emotionally grounded cuts through the noise. Women today are skilled at detecting inauthenticity. They've seen too many over-polished profiles, too many promises that evaporated in real life. If you want to know what women really want in this digital era, it's someone whose online self and real-world self are the same person. Changing gender roles have also shifted the equation. In many societies, women now prioritize education, career, and personal fulfillment before or alongside romantic relationships. This independence doesn't mean they've stopped valuing partnership. It means they can be more selective. A partner is no longer a necessity for survival. He is a choice for enrichment. That shift changes the power dynamic in healthy ways. Women aren't looking to be rescued. They're looking for someone to build with. But independence doesn't mean women are looking for emotionally detached partners. In fact, the opposite is often true. Emotional availability, the willingness to communicate openly, to be vulnerable, and to connect on a deep level, has become more important than ever. In a world where physical attraction is easy to find, emotional intimacy is rare. That's why women value it so highly. One interesting trend modern psychology notes is that women are more attuned to red flags earlier in the relationship than they used to be. This comes from both experience and collective cultural awareness. Social media, books, podcasts, and influencers have given women language for things like gaslighting, love bombing, and emotional unavailability. A generation ago, these patterns might have been felt but not named. Now, they're recognized and discussed. That means behaviors that once might have been overlooked are now deal breakers. Another subtle shift is the role of shared growth. Many women want a partner who is not just accomplished, but also committed to personal development. It's no longer enough to be successful in the traditional sense. The willingness to evolve, learn, and improve is deeply attractive. Stagnation signals complacency. Growth signals vitality. A man who reads, explores new ideas, and reflects on his actions signals that he can adapt and thrive in an ever-changing world. Now, let's address a controversial but important truth. While women are more empowered than ever, the desire for masculine polarity still exists for many. This doesn't mean outdated gender roles, but rather the attraction that comes from complementary energies. Feminine energy often thrives in the presence of grounded, secure masculine energy. A partner who can lead when necessary, provide stability, and create a safe emotional space. This polarity can deepen intimacy, but it works best when it's fluid, allowing both partners to shift between roles as needed. Of course, there are silent deal breakers that cut across cultures and eras. Disrespect, dishonesty, lack of ambition, and emotional neglect are universal turnoffs. But in the modern landscape, there's another one. Lack of presence. A man who is physically with her but mentally buried in his phone or lost in his own world sends a clear signal. She's not a priority. Presence is rare in a distracted age, and its absence is more noticeable than ever. It's also worth noting that women are increasingly drawn to men who understand boundaries, both theirs and their own. A healthy boundary signals self-respect and emotional intelligence. It tells her you won't lose yourself in the relationship, but you'll also respect her space and individuality. In a time when relationships can easily blur into codependency, boundaries are not walls. They're bridges that allow two strong individuals to meet in the middle. Some of the most telling studies on female desire reveal that women's preferences aren't static. They're fluid and highly context-dependent. A woman might be deeply attracted to stability, kindness, and long-term security in one phase of her life, but find herself inexplicably drawn to adventure, novelty, and even risk in another. It's not that she's inconsistent or fickle, it's that human attraction is a dynamic system shaped by hormones, life stage, social environment, and past emotional experiences. For instance, research on ovulatory shifts in attraction has shown that during certain points in the menstrual cycle, women may experience a subtle increase in attraction toward men who display more traditionally masculine traits, like deeper voices, symmetrical faces, or signs of physical dominance. But here's the twist. Outside those windows, those same traits might rank lower in desirability compared to emotional warmth, humor, and dependability. Another crucial point is that women's attraction operates on multiple timelines. There's the immediate, in-the-moment spark, often driven by chemistry, charisma, and nonverbal cues. But there's also the long-game evaluation, where her subconscious is constantly assessing, is this person reliable? Does he align with my values? Will he contribute to my sense of safety and growth? You can think of it like a dual-layered filtering system, one driven by instinct and another by reasoning. And yes, sometimes those two layers disagree. That's why a woman might say, I know he's not good for me, but I can't help how I feel. Or conversely, he's perfect on paper, but there's just no spark. One area that's often misunderstood is the role of communication. For many women, how a man communicates is as important, if not more important, than what he communicates. Tone of voice, emotional openness, and the ability to listen without trying to immediately solve or dismiss her feelings all matter immensely. A man who can validate her perspective without judgment taps directly into the psychological need for emotional safety. This is a critical insight for anyone trying to understand what women want, because it shifts the focus away from grand gestures and towards the subtle, everyday acts of attunement. Now, let's talk about confidence. Not the loud, performative kind, but the grounded, authentic version. Women are generally adept at detecting when confidence is genuine versus when it's masking insecurity. True confidence has a calmness to it. It's not about dominating the room, but about being comfortable in one's own skin. Pair that with a sense of purpose, a man who knows what he's about and where he's going, and it creates a magnetic pull. This doesn't mean women only want high-status or hyper-successful men. In fact, many women prioritize emotional availability and shared values over wealth or prestige. But they do tend to be drawn to men who are self-respecting, self-aware, and actively engaged in something that matters to them. It's also worth noting that modern social dynamics have shifted some of these patterns. The rise of gender equality, financial independence, and global connectivity means that many women are less reliant on men for material security and more focused on emotional and intellectual compatibility. This is where traits like humor, shared worldview, and mutual respect come to the forefront. In fact, surveys across multiple cultures repeatedly show that kindness ranks as one of the top desired qualities in a partner. And it's not just a feel-good trait. Kindness signals a capacity for cooperation, empathy, and long-term partnership. But let's not romanticize this too much. The reality is, female attraction is also influenced by less conscious, more primal mechanisms. Things like scent, yes, actual body odor, can unconsciously sway attraction, as it's tied to immune system compatibility through something called the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC. Women can detect subtle differences in scent that signal genetic diversity, which may play a role in the health of potential offspring. It's fascinating to think that while we're talking about shared Netflix tastes and favorite vacation spots, part of the attraction equation might be happening on a purely biological, invisible level. In essence, what women want is not a single universal checklist. It's a moving, adaptive pattern shaped by biology, psychology, and culture. And the men who understand this, not in a manipulative way, but in a respectful, observant, and authentic way, are the ones who form the deepest, most enduring connections. We often hear the phrase, women want love, but love in the female mind is rarely just a feeling. It is an ecosystem. It's made up of safety, trust, consistency, and respect. Without these, the word love feels hollow. Neuroscience gives us a fascinating clue here. The female brain, especially in the limbic system, the emotional command center, has more interconnections between the right and left hemispheres compared to the male brain. This means that emotional memory, intuition, and logic are woven more tightly together. For a woman, how you make her feel isn't separate from how she thinks about you. It's one continuous loop. Let's talk about security first. And by security, I don't mean just financial. It's emotional predictability. Knowing that you will be there, that you won't suddenly disappear, that she can be vulnerable without the fear of betrayal. Researchers at the University of Rochester found that women rate emotional reliability as one of the top 3 traits in a long-term partner across cultures and age groups. It's not about grand gestures. It's about showing up, consistently. Now, support. For centuries, society conditioned women to depend on men for survival. But in the modern world, women can survive and thrive without a man. Yet the need for emotional partnership remains. Support here doesn't mean rescuing her from every difficulty. It means believing in her, encouraging her goals, and making her feel that her ambitions are as important as yours. Psychologists call this mutual empowerment, and it's a hallmark of healthy relationships. And then there's respect, a non-negotiable. Respect is not just politeness. It's not just opening the door or paying the bill. Respect is seeing her as an equal human being. It's listening to her opinions, not dismissing her emotions as overreacting, and never using intimacy or affection as a weapon. In long-term studies by Dr. Terry Orbuch, couples who maintained mutual respect had higher satisfaction even after 20 years, regardless of their financial situation or external stress. But here's where many men misunderstand. Security, support, and respect are not just about what you do, but about how you make her feel. You might think you're being supportive by giving advice, but maybe she just wanted you to listen. You might think you're showing respect by providing financially, but if you dismiss her concerns, the emotional respect is lost. It's also important to recognize the paradox. Women are often drawn to men who are confident and independent, yet they want that same man to be emotionally available. Some men see this as contradictory. It's not. Think of it as depth. She wants someone who can stand tall in the world, but also kneel down and meet her in the most vulnerable moments without judgment. And when you combine these elements, security, support, and respect, you build something rare. A space where love isn't just a fleeting emotion, but a stable foundation. And in that space, attraction deepens, trust solidifies, and the connection becomes almost unbreakable. Because in the end, what women really want is not perfection. It's presence. It's the quiet reassurance that even on the hardest days, you're still there. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and soulfully. But if you truly want to understand female psychology, you have to grasp one critical truth. Women are not monolithic. There is no single code that unlocks every woman's mind, because women, just like men, are individuals shaped by their own upbringing, culture, life experiences, and personal values. What's true for one may be irrelevant to another. That's why when men rely on rigid dating rules or one-size-fits-all advice, they often fail. However, there are patterns. There are deeply rooted psychological principles, shaped by biology and reinforced by social structures, that influence female attraction and decision-making. And one of the most important of these patterns is the concept of emotional resonance. Emotional resonance is when a man not only understands what a woman says, but also feels the meaning behind her words. It's when you can listen to her talk about a difficult day, and instead of offering a quick fix, you reflect back the emotional weight of her experience. That's what makes her feel seen and understood. This is not about being overly emotional yourself, it's about tuning in. When women sense that you get them on an emotional level, a powerful bond forms. This connection goes far beyond looks, status, or money. In fact, numerous studies in relationship psychology have shown that emotional attunement is one of the top predictors of long-term satisfaction for women. Another core element is respect. Not just in the obvious be polite sense, but deep respect for her autonomy, intelligence, and individuality. Women want to feel they are entering a partnership, not a hierarchy where they are expected to fit into a predetermined role. This is especially true in modern relationships, where women's careers, ambitions, and personal identities are central to their lives. Men often underestimate how much intellectual stimulation plays a role in attraction. When a woman says she wants a man who challenges her, she doesn't mean someone who constantly disagrees with her. She means someone who can keep the conversation alive, introduce her to new ideas, and help her see the world from different angles. Mental compatibility is as intoxicating for many women as physical chemistry. Then comes the subtle but powerful factor of unpredictability. This doesn't mean playing mind games, it means having depth. If every day with you is exactly the same, the spark fades. But if you have multiple dimensions, interests, passions, hobbies, humor, she gets the sense that there is always more to discover about you. This keeps curiosity alive, and curiosity is one of the fuels of attraction. Finally, let's talk about trust. For many women, trust is not just about faithfulness, it's about emotional safety. It's knowing she can be vulnerable with you without fear of being judged, dismissed, or mocked. When a man becomes that safe space for her emotions, her attachment deepens in a way that is hard to break. All of these factors, emotional resonance, respect, intellectual stimulation, depth, and trust, are not gimmicks. They are the architecture of a meaningful connection. And when you build that architecture, what a woman really wants is no longer a mystery. You're not trying to win her over anymore. You're simply becoming the person she naturally wants to be with. Women are also deeply influenced by the concept of emotional attunement. This is not just about listening to her words, it's about reading the tone, body language, and the underlying emotion. A man who can tune into her feelings without her having to spell everything out creates a sense of safety and understanding that is extremely attractive. In relationships, many women often test emotional attunement through subtle cues. A small change in her mood, a hint of sadness in her voice, or a quieter than usual response. Men who miss these cues may appear emotionally unavailable, while men who notice and respond warmly stand out as exceptional partners. Interestingly, research in behavioral psychology shows that women value proactive effort over reactive reassurance. For example, remembering her preferences, anticipating her needs, and making thoughtful gestures without being asked signals genuine investment. This doesn't have to mean lavish gifts. Often it's the everyday consistency, like brewing her favorite coffee or sending a message before she even says she had a bad day. That builds a deep emotional bank account. Another layer is shared vision. Women tend to be attracted to men whose long-term goals align with theirs, not necessarily in every detail, but in life direction and values. A man who communicates his dreams and invites her into that vision signals partnership rather than parallel lives. This is why many women ask questions about future plans early in dating. They're not just making conversation, they're assessing compatibility. Neurobiologically, oxytocin plays a key role here. This bonding hormone is released during moments of trust, affection, and intimacy. For women, emotional connection can often intensify physical attraction, while for men, it's sometimes the reverse. Understanding this difference allows couples to bridge the gap. Men can focus on emotional depth to enhance the relationship, while women can understand that physical expression can be an important connector for men. Finally, a recurring truth in female psychology is that women don't want perfection. They want presence. Flaws are acceptable, even endearing, when a man is attentive, emotionally available, and consistent. The myth of Prince Charming is far less important than the reality of someone who shows up day after day in big and small ways. At the core, what women really want is not a list of qualities carved in stone. It's a living, breathing connection that grows over time. It's a partnership where they feel seen without having to shout, valued without having to earn it, and loved without conditions. The reality is, every woman is unique, and yet certain emotional needs run deep across cultures and personalities. Trust, emotional safety, respect, affection, and a shared sense of purpose. When a man invests in understanding not just what she says, but what she truly feels, he shifts from being just a partner to being her safe harbor. This is not about manipulation or ticking boxes. It's about genuine curiosity and consistent care. The men who thrive in long-term relationships aren't the ones with the flashiest gestures, but the ones who show up every single day. The ones who make her feel, I am home. So, if you want to connect deeply with a woman, focus less on impressing and more on attuning. Listen with your heart, be consistent with your actions, and align your life in ways that allow her to see a future with you. Remember, love is not found in grand speeches, it's built in the quiet moments, in the trust that grows slowly but surely. Now I want to turn this to you. What's your experience? Do you believe women are clearer or more mysterious about what they want in love? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone, and I'd love to hear your take. If you found value in today's deep dive, make sure to subscribe to HeartDecoded. Hit the bell icon so you never miss these psychology-backed insights, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because understanding each other isn't just about love, it's about building better human connections.